nature nut, I'm not afraid to admit. I'm wild about the wild things and I'm proud of it. I'm just a simple case, open and shut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut. Today we'll go bird watching, tomorrow we'll catch toads. The next day we'll take photographs of bugs along the road. I never get the feeling that I'm in a rut. That's why I'm a nature nut. Well, I'm a nature nut, I'm not afraid to admit. I'm wild about the wild things and I'm proud of it. I'm just a simple case, open and shut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut.
Well, isn't this the most expansive, exquisitely treeless chunk of prairie you've ever seen on your TV screen?
Hello, Nature Nuts. How are you? We're on the prairies today, and we're here because we're looking for pronghorn. And what are pronghorn? Well, it's not a kind of a beetle. I'm sorry if that's a disappointment to you. Pronghorns are mammals. They're mammals about the size of deer, and they love prairie-type places like this one. Here, I've got a skull to show you of a pronghorn. Here's a pronghorn skull. Now, what I want you to notice, it's kind of deer-like. It's missing the lower jaw, of course. Big, big eyeballs. In fact, they have telescopic vision. They can see things further away than you or I can. They may be looking at me right now. And even more interesting than that, a pronghorn is not a member of the deer family. The deer all have antlers that fall off once a year, at least on the males, I should say. It's not an antelope. Antelope don't live in North America or South America, and the antelope have horns that stay on the head all the time. This is an antilocaprid. It's a word that means antelope goat, and they're not goats either. They are unique, at least, more or less unique, in the sense that the actual horn comes off of the horn core once a year, and they regrow this keratinous bit on the top of the horn. And one thing that pronghorns are really good at, the thing they are most famous for, is the fact that they can run really fast. If this guy was alive right now, here's what he'd do.
Pronghorn cannot jump fences, so they need enough space to go through or under the barbed wire.
Apparently pronghorn always shake their body after a good long run. Man, even if I was a running kind of guy, which I'm not, there's no way I could run like a pronghorn. Pronghorn can do 3 kilometers at an absolute flat-out dead run. That's about 2 miles. They can get up to 85 kilometers per hour. It's about 50 miles an hour. And they can do it because they're specially rigged. They got big lungs, they've got a huge pounding heart, and just so their brain doesn't overheat, they've got carotid and orbital rete brain coolers. That's why they're kind of snouty looking things. You don't even want to know about that. That has to do with internal nasal anatomy. Anyway, they're great runners. I forgot one thing. When they're running, they can make their hair stand up on end, and especially the hair on the rump, that big white patch of hair on the rump. When that goes up, it's a signal to other pronghorn, and what it means is, start running! So, that's a cool thing. I'm trying for the same effect here. I'm not quite getting it. I'm not white yet, and this is not my rump. Anyway, I gotta get the brain cooler working. See you later. Okay, I got the blind set up. I've Got still camera stuff in there. I got video camera stuff in there. I've got my binoculars, my portable chair. I'm running low on donuts. Might have to dig into the pickled donuts, but I'm ready for some serious pronghorn observation. Okay, get out of the wind here. Alrighty, well, I'm just gonna start up the automatic pronghorn recording system here, just in case. It'll be a while. I saw some over this next roll of the prairies, and I think they're heading this way, so hopefully they won't catch my scent, and they'll be on us soon enough. Now, let me give you a little primer on what to watch for here. We're on the prairies early summer, and at this time of the year, you'll see pronghorns, well, actually at any time of the year, you'll see them primarily in groups. Maybe even less so at this time of the year. The females will often get off on their own to have their babies, and right now the babies have just gotten past the stage where they like to hide down in the grass. Their color has taken on the same appearance as the adult pronghorn, so they just look like cute little miniature pronghorns, and they're hanging out primarily with their mothers. They'll either have one or more often twins. Now, sometimes these females and their young will group together to form little herds, and usually these herds are accompanied by a single adult male. The adult males are very territorial. They'll stake out a big chunk of prairie, a nice chunk of prairie generally, and they'll try to keep as many females in that territory as they can. The way you tell the males from the females is by primarily looking at their horns and their face. Now, the females, the ears are longer than the horns, if they have horns at all. On the males, the horns are longer than the ears. And the males also have black patches on the throat, the sides of the throat, and on the top of the muzzle. These are very muzzly, sort of big-nosed creatures. Although, you know, they've got a handsome look to them. I'm not saying they're obnoxiously big-nosed looking critters. And if you see a single male, and I've seen this too, a single male, an adult male hanging out, he will mark his territory in a couple of different ways. First of all, he'll mark it the normal way. You know, anybody who's ever walked a dog knows how animals like to mark their territory. Although pronghorns tend to scrape the ground a bit before they, you know, plant the marker. But you'll sometimes see them rubbing their throat on a plant stem, right on the black patch, and there are little glands in the throat area that emit a scent, and that scent becomes a territorial marker too. Now, the young males, the ones who are not old enough to hold territories, they will generally hang out in juvenile gangs, roaming the prairies, primarily trying to harass females. They stay out of the way of the older males. Occasionally, you'll see the young ones sort of spar with each other a little bit, and they're getting ready for the time when they have to fight for their territories. And these fights are very serious. I mean, those are sharp horns, and pronghorns will occasionally even kill each other in battles over territory. All this stuff you hear about people being the only species that kills members of their own species, ha! Not true. Pronghorns are one. Well, we could just start listing and go on and on and on. But anyway, it's a serious business for these critters, and it's nice to see them going about all of their different typical pronghorn activities.
The social behavior of pronghorns is about as complex as that of other grazing animals.
You know, when you're driving on the prairie, you really have to stay alert for deer. Deer will pop right out of the ditch, jump in front of your car. Lots of cars, lots of trucks, lots of vehicles collide with deer. Not so much of a problem with pronghorn, but every once in a while the neatest thing happens. You'll be driving along, usually on a gravel road, you'll come by some pronghorn and they'll be startled. They'll think that perhaps you and your vehicle are a predator. They'll think maybe the ultra-fast cheetahs of the Pleistocene period have returned. Now this happened just a few hours ago. We've been wanting to get this on tape. I was driving along with Bill, the director, and we only had the home video camera, but we came over a rise. We surprised a group of 4 young male pronghorns. They started to run, and I held back so that I was going just a little bit slower than they were. At that point, they cut right in front of the vehicle and across to the other side of the road. What they're doing is they think maybe the vehicle is a predator, so they're cutting in front of the predator to see if they are under attack. And if the predator doesn't turn with them, then they just lay back and go back to browsing on the grass. They want to expend as little energy as possible with all that running stuff, because after all, it's hard work. And it happens quite often. It's quite a neat thing. Now, I'm not suggesting you go out there and harass pronghorn with your vehicle. I'm just saying that if it happens to you, that's what it's all about. Testing the predator using the least energy possible to make sure that you're still safe and not in any great danger, like any kind of young male critter could be expected to do. Teenagers, you know what they're like, just plain lazy. No offense to you teenagers. I was once one too. Should have seen my bedroom. Woohoo!
Here's a thing that you should try. I do it often and I wouldn't lie. Get out on the prairie and take your lawn chair. Walk out in the middle and set yourself there. For me, it's a matter of hankering, see, for wildlife and birds and serenity, so long as nobody minds seeing me. With a hawk overhead, have a look. I'll sit here and read me a book. No distractions, no cares, no nothing out here on the prairies. Birds are the subject today, I might add, and what a profusion of types to be had. When a gull passes over, I check just to see, yep, it's a Franklin's, a gull far from sea. A sniff from behind and a check over the shoulder. Ha! Here they come, as plain as 3 boulders. Curious pronghorns, you know, when they see a guy on a lawn chair out on the prairie. Today it's a gang of young does that drop by, while I check out the sage grouse that makes me say, my oh my, there sure ain't many of them left on the range like there once was back when. But those pronghorns still figure I might be something that is worth getting sniff of if that wind would bring a scent, so they needn't depend on their vision, telescopic or not in redoubtable fission. So I flip me some pages to tickle their eyes, no need for disguise, they just ain't perceptive guys. What do they reckon I am, sitting still like a guy in a car seat with no car on a hill? Them underloofs loof and pretend to be grazing, steadily closer excitement is raising. There's 3 of them here I can see if I peek. Nope, 4. What a treat for the weak. Ooh, one got nervous, and up went the hair. White on the rump makes the other ones care, for the curious pronghorns have figured me out. Not from the lookin', but instead with the snout. Yep, they had to smell me before they could know that I ain't no buffalo. So that's all for now. It's warm in the sun, and the pronghorn have gone, so where is the fun of pretending it's normal to read on the plains in a lawn chair way out on the range? Hunters sometimes wave white flags to entice pronghorn into shooting range.
thing alive. Oh yeah, Pronghorn. Pronghorn on the prairies, in the background, the bison thunder pounding.
Pronghorn. Well, Whitebait saw the cowboy and those cows that tamed the west. They come sweeping over the grasslands that grew high as Whitebait's chest. Yeah. The winds of change blew across the ground. Then Whitebait's world came tumbling down. Pronghorn.
Pronghorn on the prairies, in the background of the cowboy.
Pronghorn. 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 Then Whitebait heard the rifle and he heard the pronghorn fall. Speed and strength and courage with no defense at all. Where once 1,000 rolled, now Whitebait stood alone. Pronghorn, Pronghorn on the prairies, in the background of them bleaching brittle bones. Pronghorn, now when you cross the prairie, saying, "Oh Lord, Lord, how flat!" Listen for the bison hooves and listen after that. Oh, Whitebait and his kin is in the background once again. I'm going to hear on Whitebait's rum. Now off he goes. I'm going to hear on Whitebait's rum.
Now, what about pronghorn in the winter? Well, winter is an interesting time to see pronghorn because they gather together in very large herds, sometimes 100 animals or more. To get at their food, pronghorn have to push the snow aside with their hooves, and in most winters this is not a difficult thing to do because the places pronghorns live, they don't get very much snow. No, deep snow can be hard on pronghorns, and so can a very cold winter. Many of them don't make it through till the next spring. In winter, pronghorn don't seem to interact as much as they do in the summer, partly because they're trying to save energy. They're just taking it easy and trying to survive the harsh time of the year, looking forward to spring when the new baby pronghorns will be born. Huge winter herds can give an inflated impression of how many pronghorn live in an area. Well, I guess we're just about out of time for pronghorns, but before we leave, I thought I would take you back to the place where my own personal love of pronghorns was born. We're in the Provincial Museum of Alberta, in front of the pronghorn diorama, and you know, when the museum opened more than 30 years ago, 1965, I was there. I was a wee child, and this was one of its great showpieces. You know, these days I've heard a lot of museum people apologize for this sort of exhibit as if it's an old-fashioned thing, but as far as I'm concerned, if it has the right impact on people who look at it, it's a good exhibit, and this one had a big impact on me. I've got to admit, though, the pronghorn themselves, although magnificent, they weren't the real focus for me. For me, the thing I really liked, oh, geez, you know, I've always been banging into the glass, too. They keep it really clean. The thing I really liked was all the other details. I liked the fact that it looked so realistic, and you could barely tell where the foreground, where these grasses, where they stopped, and where the painting in the background started. I used to stand there for, I don't know, periods of 2-3 minutes at a time. A long time for a young kid, wondering where the dividing line was. I liked the painting of the ferruginous hawks in the sky above. I liked the sweetgrass hills looking as if they're floating over the prairie in the background, and especially little touches like that road duster grasshopper. It's become kind of faded in the last 30 years, but it's recognizably a road duster. The horned lark sitting on the rock behind me, and my favorite thing of all was the plains garter snake slithering through the grass beside the partial pronghorn skull. It's not just a diorama about the pronghorn, it's a diorama about the prairie ecosystem. But the pronghorn themselves, like I say, they've always been kind of a background thing for me. So it's good that we had the chance to put them in the foreground today, and I hope they remain in the foreground of your thoughts. I like putting nature in the foreground. That's because I'm a nature nut, and I hope you are too. See you again soon. Magnificent, aren't they? Now, pronghorn antelope. Can you imagine how much head grease they've cleaned off this glass in the last 30-some years? Much of it mine. I'm proud to say so.
Same time each and every week, uncensored and uncut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut.